Hello and welcome to Hollywood Approved with Stacey and Yael. Each episode is an exploration of taste as we dive into the good, the bad, the unexpected in TV and movies. Tune in for the celebrity guests. Stay for the surprising recommendations. This is Hollywood Approved. Yay! Hello, welcome. Hi, Stacey.
Hi.
I'm so excited about today's guest, aren't you?
I'm so excited. Super excited. I can't
We
wait.
have a legend with us. Someone known for the big screen, the small screen, the
Stage and screen.
stage. That's the one. I am such a big fan of this person's specifically episode of SVU. Which I know is such a weird pull, but everyone who knows me knows that I love SVU. But of course, Kristen was such a big fan of this person from Shrek the Musical. Stacey, what is your favorite project of this person's?
Oh my goodness.
I put you on the spot. You have to pick
I
one.
know. Like, of course, he was great in West Side Story,
That's a
and
good one. Yes.
give me a second because there's one in particular, and it's gonna drive me crazy. I love it.
Well, while you think about that one, I want to bring him on because I'm so excited to talk to him. We have the one, the only, Brian Darcy James. Hello.
Hello.
And
Hi.
Hamilton. That's what I was saying.
Oh,
Fantastic.
man. Hello, welcome, Mr. Brian Darcy James. I'm so excited to talk to you about everything: big screen, small screen, stage screen, all the screens. Let's start with what you're currently working on, because you're currently on stage, not in this moment, but currently on stage for Into the Woods.
Right now, yeah, I'm in my dressing room at the St. James Theater in New York City, where I am currently in the Broadway production of Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine's Into the Woods. Yeah, and it started off as like an 8-week thing that just popped up out of nowhere, and it has some legs now. People are really enjoying it, and we've been extended through mid-October, so that's super exciting. And yeah, it's I'm having a blast. I get to play opposite Sarah Bareilles, which is a dream come true because she's amazing. Wow, look at that, right on cue.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, as is everybody else. There's a lot of people in this company that I've either worked with before, I've met before, and I've admired all of them. It's an extraordinary cast.
I absolutely love Into the Woods. It is one of my favorite musicals. Do you have a favorite song from Into the Woods?
Well, I love listening to Sarah at the end sing her song "Moments in the Woods." It's a combination of her voice and the material, of course. I suppose that there is a favorite moment I have is when I get to sing with her in "It Takes Two." There's a little harmony line near the end of the song where before I even started, I thought, "Oh, this is going to be the best part of the show, getting to sing a third, singing in thirds with her." And it is. That's my favorite. That's my favorite kind of vocal moment in the show.
I love that.
But I really listen to everything and everyone, and it's just, it's hard to pick. It really is, because everyone delivers it so beautifully, every moment.
Yeah. I'm gonna just be honest and say that I get agony stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And then I'll just shout agony and people don't know what I'm talking about. And it's so annoying. But I love that song. I also want to talk about some small screen stuff. As you know, I'm a big SVU fan, specifically your episode Producers Back In, which was a fantastic episode. But I want to talk about Evil, which just wrapped its season. Tell us about working on this show.
It's been such a fun experience, and I'm so happy to be on that show because it's such a great show. And I love how bold and imaginative it is. And the character that I get to play, Victor LeConte, who is he works for what's called the Entity, or that he always kind of says, no, it's not the Entity, we're friends of the Vatican. It is basically a group that is, tasked with carrying out diplomatic, quote unquote, missions for the Vatican, political or otherwise. But it's basically, they have some covert kind of, relationship with the Vatican, and Victor represents that and enlists, David's character, the role of David. And it's I don't know, it's been super fun to play that cloak and dagger type storyline in a show that is so, like I said, so bold and imaginative. I love it.
Now, I know that it's a common question, but everybody always has such a unique kind of perspective on it. So, of course, you started in theater, and that has been such a huge part of your career. What was the impetus to kind of go to TV, to kind of go to film, and what was that transition like for you?
Well, the desire was always there. I mean, when you start off as an actor, I think you kind of go where the work takes you. And in my case, it started in the theater, as you said, which is true. And I was lucky enough to really kind of burrow into that as my kind of lion's share of my career at the beginning of my career. And that wasn't for lack of wanting to be in a movie or be in a television show. I was just as enamored with, the actors that I had seen on stage or on film and television as well. So there was no real kind of exclusivity in my mind in terms of my pursuits. But I will say that it took a while to be able to kind of knock down the doors in terms of perception as, being seen as someone who's done mostly theater, and getting those chances to start, gaining the experience in front of a camera, and acting in that way, which is obviously a different way to work. So that was a slow process. And, after a while, after, gaining some experience and gaining some credits, and, being able to kind of walk and chew gum at the same time, it's allowed me to kind of move forward in that arena. So, I mean, that's kind of a long answer, but it was always a desire of mine to act in film and televisions because I loved it so much. I will say, just as a kid, one of the reasons why I think I was able to pursue acting as a legitimate, option as a career is because my uncle Brian was an actor in television. He was on a television show called Flipper in the 60s.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love Flipper.
That was something that I was exposed to as being, a realistic job, as opposed to something that was intangible. So, I was able to talk to him about it as a kid and just kind of understand the reality of being a professional actor. So that was kind of within my my understanding of things, which I think helped as I started.
Was he Sandy?
Was he? No, he played the dad. He was Porter Rick.
Oh,
he was the dad. Yeah.
Very
so
good.
Yeah.
As someone who has done all the things that actors do, all the things, the big screen, the little screen, the stage screen. I don't know why I keep saying stage screen, but I do.
The mind screen.
Yeah, the mind screen. Is there a difference in how you approach each of these? Is there something different in how you prepare for those roles?
The preparation is essentially the same in terms of understanding your character and understanding the story, etc. All the basics of knowing what it is the story is about and how you function within that as a character. It's in the doing of it that takes a different calibration of sorts, just to be able to, it's a different thing to stand on a stage and try to reach the back row in a theater filled with 1,500 people as it is, with a camera, that looks at every microscopic facial tick that your muscles make. So, understanding the difference between those two things obviously is a huge thing to learn and to understand. So the preparation is the same. It's more in the execution that makes for a different approach in terms.
And do you have a preference?
I really don't. I always, I've enjoyed having more work in TV and film, and getting more experience and getting more and more comfortable in living in front of a camera and trying to capture a character honestly and authentically and all that. So yeah, the more chance I get to do that and feel comfortable in that world, I do feel like that is it makes me happy. I enjoy that. And, on the same, by the same token, being on stage is something that I've been doing since I was 15 years old. So that to me is like falling out of bed, which I love to do.
You like
I
to
love
fall out of
that.
bed?
I love the follow. It's a great way to start the day.
I love that answer because it really, it's so easy to be like, oh, they've got it all together and there's never any challenge and you just hit the ground running. And it's like, no, it takes work. It takes practice. You do it over and over until you get, your pattern, get good at it. I noticed that you did a little voiceover work for Centaur World. Was
Yeah.
that the first time that you've done voiceover? And then what was that experience like?
Yes, in an extended series, yes, that would be my first. I've done little things here and there. I love that kind of work. I think it's having done a lot of musicals and having a musical ear and having a little bit of elasticity, I think, with my voice helps perhaps. And I love being able to kind of not have anything to do other than create something with the sound of your voice.
Mhm.
That's super fun to do. So I really enjoyed that experience. I'd love to do more of it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you really enjoy challenging yourself. Is there something that you haven't yet gotten to do that you really want to?
Well, it's true. That is true. I think I just produced a television show for the first time. I produced a show on CBS called How We Roll with Pete Holmes, and that was an extraordinary experience. And I guess to answer your question, for me, it's trying to really be true to the idea of like, well, do what scares you, and if you have an instinct to do it, then go out on that limb and try to do it, and maybe you'll succeed, maybe you'll fail, but you'll have done it. I find myself, when people ask about advice about young actors, what do you say to young actors? I will say that if you have an inkling that maybe I should write that story, or maybe I should try to gather my friends and make that short film, you should do it early and start gaining the experience and start exercising those muscles, because that's what allows you to understand what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you love to do, what you don't. It just gives you a one more or two more or three more things on the menu to choose from as you're exploring your artistic pursuits. So that's a long way of saying I do like to challenge myself. I do try to not stay too long in one place, whether that's in a professional capacity as a producer or an actor. I haven't directed yet, so perhaps that's the next thing I have to do to kind of convince myself that that would be something of a worthy pursuit. But I don't know about that. But anyway,
Wait, you heard it here first.
It would
He's
be
gonna
welcome.
redirect.
Yes, it would be
Why not?
welcome.
Why
I'm
not?
excited for that.
I can't wait. That's what's happening next, everybody. Brian Darcy James,
You heard it
director.
here first. All right, I'll come back after I've done it and we can talk about it.
Perfect. Well, let's talk a little bit about what it is that you've been watching. Let's get to our TV questions. So we'll start with you, Brian. What is the last thing that you watched?
The last thing I saw, my wife and I have been watching the Ethan Hawke documentary about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward called The Last Movie Stars. And it's been fascinating to watch because first of all, I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't know a lot of Joanne Woodward's work, and my idea of her was always associated with being Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward and their kind of relationship, which this explores quite in depth, which is fascinating. But as an actor, she's incredible to watch, and I have a lot of homework to do to catch up in terms of really studying her work. But it's really interesting about both of them. Paul Newman, I was more familiar with, and most everybody knows him. But you really get a sense of who these people are at their core and how they live their lives in relation to their professional lives. It's fascinating.
And is that what a docu-series or a documentary?
It's docu-series. I think it's like 8 episodes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm right in the middle of it. Don't tell me how it ends.
Okay. All right, Stacey, what about you? What is the last thing that you watched?
The last thing that I watched was 5 Days at Memorial. And I did went to the premiere last night, and now I'm like super hooked. It was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting it to be a little bit more melodramatic. And what it really brought up was remembering like, oh, where you were at this time, because the story that it documents was based off a book that tells the true events of what happened at these 5 days at Memorial Hospital during Katrina. And I was like, I don't remember this story at all. And I was like, why don't I remember this? And where I'm from, we actually had one of our convention centers that was used as housing for people who were evacuated out. And we were way up in Nebraska. So it was crazy. It was just wild. So were really busy, gathering supplies and getting things ready. And so I missed a whole lot of that news circuit. And so it's very interesting to kind of go back and see the way that this is being retold and then match it up kind of with what I remember happening during that time. I highly recommend it. It's intense.
Yeah, I also don't remember that story. I feel like it did not make the news as much as it should have.
It did, but it was like the New York Post. And so, of course, it was like some snappy, weird headline, and you really had to dig into it to understand like what was really going on. So I think it kind of hit, and then everything else just came and shoved it out of the way.
Okay. Brian, were you aware of the story of what happened?
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
No, this is such an actor thing to say. The only reason I'm familiar with it is because I auditioned for that project. Yeah, but it's a fascinating story. So that was the kind of impetus for me to research it and begin to understand what that particular story was.
Wow, that's so funny. I have not watched it yet, and I have not heard the story until now. The last thing that I watched was A League of Their Own on Prime, which came out on August 12th. This is a reimagination of the movie, which is a reimagination of history. I will say the A League of Their Own series is beautifully done. It is beautifully queer and beautifully diverse in body types and colors and backgrounds, and it's so beautiful. It's just it's really great. If you liked A League of Their Own, the movie, you're gonna love this. It is not, they do not take, I'm gonna just let everybody know, they do not take the characters from A League of Their Own, the movie, and redo it. They go, no, we're gonna tell you a different story. And so you don't have to worry about it ruining A League of Their Own, the movie. It's its own thing, and it's great.
Well, one thing to add, so Rosie O'Donnell does make a cameo, and it's absolutely fantastic. Not as the same character, but as a different character, and it's really, really well done. And then the Maybelle Fair, I believe is her name. I might have her last name wrong, but she wasn't on the Peaches, but they have a character that's kind of like a facsimile of her, and she's wonderful. But the real Maybelle Blair Fair, one of two, has been going around, and she's 95 years old and just recently came out and was like, I finally am able to say it. I'm finally able to kind of live this life. And so I love that because it's, it kind of shows there's never a wrong age to, be your authentic self. So
yeah, I also heard she's single. So
yeah,
she's looking a date now.
There we go.
Awesome. All right, what is a show or movie you just discovered? Brian, we'll start with you.
The one that I was kind of a recent discovery. I mean, it wasn't yesterday, but fairly recently, was this French espionage show called Le Bureau, which is basically, the CIA in France. And I think that actor, Matthew Kassovitz, he's extraordinary. And, my cousin who was watching it in London turned me on to it. And I just loved it. It's just pot boilers every episode. And his performance along with everybody else is really great. And it really kind of motivated me to kind of get back to my 8th grade French classes and get on Duolingo and see if I could start speaking French again, which I can't.
Yeah, right. We get some sentences here and there.
Yeah.
Is it subtitled, I assume?
Yeah.
And where is it available to watch?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's on Sundance at the time. I think Sundance had it. It might be in different streaming places now. So I don't want to speak for certain on that, but I believe that's where I saw it.
All right. And it's like a mystery
Yeah,
detective-y.
it's just a political thriller of a guy who works for the bureau in France and has to it's a long and complicated story, but it kind of propels forward and tumbles forward with each episode.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
All right, Stacey, what is a show or movie you just discovered?
Uncoupled on Netflix, starring Neil Patrick Harris and um, Tuck Atkins, and it is I actually had a chance to do the junket for this, and so I got to talk with Darren Star, and I was like, it is reminding me of like a gay Sex in the City, but not in like a derivative way, not like, oh, it's just like it, but it has that wonderful kind of like, this is real, but then also completely not. Nobody lives this way. There's this whole thing where Neil Patrick Harris's character is like, oh, I'm in my 40s and I have to date again. And I'm like, you are in fantastic shape. You have all of your hair. You're so handsome. What are you talking about? But of course, you just get into the fantasy of it all. And that's what I really loved from Sex and the City. And I think that plays so well here. And there are so many moments where you just want to choke some of them, and then you just want to hug the rest of them. And so it's so fun.
I love that. I have yet to see that one, but I'm going to check that out. That is also on my list after Le Bureau. I just rediscovered the First Wives Club, which I saw many years ago when it came out, and then I probably saw again after that, and recently rediscovered it, and it's so good. It's so good. And I forgot almost the whole plot, and it's just a really quality film. And to think about the fact that you have two of the Sanderson sisters after Hocus Pocus playing rivals is so interesting. And I would love to see a modern remake of it.
Well, did you watch the series at all?
I did not watch the series, but was the series similar or was it different?
It was less, we're trying to get a man. It's more about the way that the wives, their friendships changed after they got married. So now that they were in the process of getting divorced, you kind of go back to these friendships, and it's like, okay, if I try to make this relationship work, how do I keep this relationship still working? It was very good. And of course, it's Michelle Buteau and just everybody. It's fantastic.
Brian, are you a big First Wives Club fan?
I know the title, but I don't think I've ever seen it. I remember it, but I can't say that I've ever seen it.
I'm taken aback.
Who's
Diane
Hitler, Goldie Hawn?
Yeah, I remember the film, but I can't say that I know it.
I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
His childhood is on the list.
It's on the list.
There we go.
That's what the show is for. All right. Our next question is, what is a show that has been on the list for years, but you still haven't watched it? Brian, what you got?
Well, this is embarrassing as well, but I have a lot of work to do in catching up with my Hitchcock films. I've never seen Psycho. I've never seen North by Northwest. I've never seen Vertigo. I mean, it's a shame.
We're gonna have to take your actor card, Brian. I don't know. I don't know if you can get back on stage now.
I don't know. I shouldn't be admitting it, but it's true. I was home with COVID not too long ago. I missed the opening of our show here, which was a bummer. But I went through it. I watched a lot of Stanley Kubrick films that I hadn't seen. So if I get sidelined again, which I hope that I don't, I will. I know where to turn.
Wow. I picked specifically a photo of him judging you.
Yeah, I think that says it all.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I feel like this entire question is admit that you've messed up. So, Stacey, what you got?
Listen, that you might need to do the Hitchcock picture again, because I have so many friends that have harangued me for not watching Pose. It's so much. I know it's fantastic. I know, right? I know it's fantastic. I know it's great. I know it's everything. But I think it hits me right in that spot of, when we talk about like the AIDS HIV crisis, and we talk about just the discrimination and just the physical hatred that so many of our, trans brothers and sisters have had to go through. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't know that I want to watch an hour long episode, and several seasons in. I might sit down at some point and, grab a few boxes of tissues and go through it, but it's going to be a while.
I get that. Pose, I feel like, is a lot less heart-wrenching every week as something like It's a Sin was.
Right.
Which I feel like overlapped in
Another one
in
I haven't watched.
story. Yeah, that one's like sad and hard to watch. Pose at least has like fun and beauty in it as well. So it should soften the blow. This is one that I feel like I should take.
I can't believe you're admitting to this.
I'm admitting to it. I haven't yet watched The Wire. I as a procedural TV, love the cop shows person, I can't believe I haven't seen it, and I'm ashamed. And it was on the top of my list during quarantine times, during lockdown. I had The Wire at the top of my list, and I still hadn't started it.
Yeah, you are not alone. I watched the pilot, and that's all I have. That's all I have under my belt. I know, right. It's sacrilegious, isn't it?
I know. We're binging it together.
So good, you guys. It's so good. You could watch it. It's great. But yeah, I get that. Because I was, during that whole HBO time, it was like Oz, The Wire, 6 Feet Under, just like all these things. And that's when you had time to watch every show. And now it's just like, oh, I got to do 16 episodes in 2 days. So it's good times.
It's too much. That's right. Brian, we'll watch that one together.
All right.
Perfect. All right, and our last question of the day: what is a show or movie that you've seen more than twice? Brian?
Just for me?
Yep.
Well, it's a recent viewing and reviewing. One of my favorite TV shows ever, I can say, Severance.
I just rewatched it too.
Oh my God! I poured through the whole thing, devoured the whole thing, and then my daughter hadn't seen it. She was home from college, and so I said, "Oh, you got to watch this." And selfishly was like, I get to watch it again. And anyone who's seen it will be able to tell you that it is great to watch it again, because you see all of the layers that they've built into this thing that have ramifications in the storytelling down the road. And it's just so clever and foreboding and beautiful and funny and weird. I love that show. Love it.
Were you a Lost fan, Brian?
I was. Yeah, I enjoyed Lost. Yeah.
I feel Severance scratches that Lost itch for me. It has just enough, because I was a Lost. Oh, I loved Lost. But there's something about the mystery and how it's interactive without being interactive, where you can kind of start making theories and what's happening and who's in control.
What I love, though, I mean, they are similar shows, but I like the fact that this is it's a workplace environment, which roots it in a realistic kind of setting where everybody can relate to it, as opposed to Lost, which is so unique in terms of a setting, and turning the mundane into something that is so intriguing. I think is a huge hat trick that they pull off. But you're right, there's similarities for sure in how those stories are told.
I get stranded on deserted islands all the time. So, for me, it was very relatable.
Then that's why I love that show.
Right. I will say, if you get a chance to, they're on Apple Books, it's free. There's this thing called the Lexington Papers. And it's a companion with Severance. And so basically, Lumen has stations all over the country. And there is one station in particular where the innie has found a way to communicate with the outie, and then all the kind of stuff that it's like 14 pages. It's so good, and it fits in without kind of overlapping the series. So highly recommended.
Oh, that's the Lexington Papers. Oh, that's interesting. Is it written by Dan Erickson, the guy who created it?
Yes,
or is it,
it's all. Yep, it's an official
Also
companion.
part of the culture. Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
I'm on it. I will read that.
I'm so excited. This is a panel of Severance fans here.
Yes.
Because I was not a Lost person, but I also I get very angry with mysteries where it's clear at the beginning that they don't have an answer yet.
Right.
So like I have that same problem with Pretty Little Liars where they didn't know where they were going yet. They're like, we'll figure it out later. No, that's not for me. You need to know at the beginning where you're going. And that's what I think Severance does so well is they
Yes.
know they know what's happening. And so yes, I highly recommend Severance to everyone. Stacey, what is a show or movie that you've watched more than twice?
I was just talking with someone about this because I'm one of those people where if I have to watch something for an assignment or if it's something where I know it's going to be heavy or long, I'm like I have to sit down and watch it. I can't be multitasking and doing other things. But sometimes I just want something up where I can be doing something, take a look and look away. And for me that is 30 Rock. I have watched that series several times beginning to end. I absolutely love it. I watched it first run. I've watched it ever since then. And because she went on to do Kimmy Schmidt and a few other things, and you can see again kind of how that humor has developed and how it's evolved. And of course, it launches Donald Glover and the community of it all, and just on and on. So it's so good. I love that show.
That's a really good one. I would usually answer this question with SVU, but I chose not to today because I thought that would be too awkward.
And I have questions about this.
About my answer?
Yes.
A show or movie I've watched more than twice is Captain Marvel. I have seen it multiple times. I will say, Captain Marvel, I know I'm going to get a lot of people mad at me. Possibly one of the best films in the MCU. I'm saying it. Come at me.
The what is it? The opinions of this reviewer are simply her own.
Right.
They do not
I do not represent. Yeah, I don't represent the management. Brian, are you a big superhero fan?
I'm not. I mean, are you going to kick me off? I haven't seen it. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you, how that stacks up with X, Y, or Z. So, I hold no judgment about your interest in this film.
Thanks. Most people hold lots of judgment.
I know. I often feel like I'm doing something wrong because I don't have an opinion.
You're just fine. I originally got into the superhero films because I had nieces and nephews. And so, it was like just trying to keep up with them and understand like what they're watching and what they're into. But I didn't like fantasy. I didn't like science fiction. There were some, like when I was little, I would read X-Men comics. So I love Storm, but that was about the extent of it. And then of course, watching with them and hearing all the little background details and all the dramatics and that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, this is saucy. Okay, let me see if I can, how we connect these. And, it really became like a thing. And so, but Captain Marvel is one that I definitely respect it, and I love how it kind of opens up the franchise. And I love Captain Marvel as a character. The movie itself, though, I don't know, Yael.
I'm going to send you a really brilliant Twitter thread that eloquently explains what's so great about Captain Marvel. Because every time I try to explain it, it doesn't come out right. Also, I get too distracted about the fact that there's a cat in it, and having a cat in a movie really like sells me on a movie. So aside from the cat, I'm going to send you this Twitter thread. I'll share it on Twitter for everyone who wants to see it.
Can I just add though? I don't know a lot about the superhero films as a whole. I love seeing them. I've seen a good number of them, and I was in Hawkeye, so I've been inside one of them, and to be able to say that I was in one of those and watching how these stories are told, it's so incredibly well done, and it's super exciting to watch. So I love being a part of that universe. But I'd be lying if I said I know every nook and cranny of it. I just don't. So it's fun for me because everything's kind of like, oh wow, okay, who's that? I don't know who that is. great. You know, people are like, what? How could you not know who that is?
When you join the MCU, you're not required to watch all of the films. I thought that was a rule.
Maybe, I don't know. If there was a line in my contract that stipulated that, I better go read it again.
Remind me, your character does not survive.
He doesn't survive, but you don't see him die. I have learned this.
So exactly. So okay. So me and
I was like,
when it came to, because the whole time I was like, wait, did her dad get snapped? And they're like, oh no, that happened like during Ultron. And I was like, he got killed before the snap. And then I was like, but wait a minute, we didn't see him again. And now Mama Bishop has some stuff going on. So I think, I don't know. I feel like that may not be the last we see of Derek
Yeah,
Bishop.
look, I keep saying that not because I have any information at all. It's only because I'm trying to will it into existence for another.
There we go.
I assume
I
assume the reason he didn't survive was because he hasn't seen all of the movies. Maybe.
There you go. See, you solved the problem. So
I
think
would
the train has left the station.
No, if you watch it all now, they'll be like, he survived.
Okay. All right.
There you go. Just let them know. I have seen all of the Marvel films.
Yeah.
I watched all the shows. And
let's just edit this. So I say, okay, ready? I've seen them all. I love them all. And that's all I have to say about it.
Perfect. Nicely done. That's it for today's discussion. But before we go, Brian, tell everybody where you are on social media. Are you on social media?
I'm not really now. I've taken a break, so I'm a bit of a cipher. I've kind of taken a leave of Instagram and Twitter, and I'm not sorry about that. So you can come see me in Into the Woods at the St. James Theater, New York City. I've got a couple of cool films coming out. She Came to Me by Rebecca Miller, which is going to be out sometime later on. Another great movie called Where All Light Tends to Go with Billy Bob Thornton. So, I've got some things in the pipeline that are coming out, and I'm super excited about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Also, I want to remind everyone that the Hollywood Critics Association has a lot of amazing content coming out every week, including after shows and Pop Council on Mondays and this show on Tuesdays. But until next time, Stacey, where are you on the internet and what are you up to these days?
Same place as I always am. Instagram and Twitter at Sticky Keys, STICKYKEYS. And this week I am in the streets. It is so busy. The day shift premiere is coming up. That should be fun. Never Have I Ever is coming up. There are some awards, and then this little 2-day TV award ceremony. You may have heard of it. The HCA awards on Friday or Saturday and Sunday, and so we're getting ready for that. It should be very fun.
Awesome. I am Yael Tygiel. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That is YAELTYGIEL. I'm here. This is where you can find me. I'll see you all next time.